The time is at hand.
From the city of Crackheads, just on the outskirts of Williamson, West Virginia, in the parking lot of my job, you're in dark places. I'm Junebug Fugit. Yeah, I'm back to recording in the car because I just don't have time. I wanted to get something out, so hey, here we go. I have time right now on my lunch, so I'm going to read some stories for you. Hope you're okay with that. This week on the show, we have some Appalachian UFO reports, and there's a lot of them, so I'm going to get right into it. This first one comes from Morris, New York. It was on June 4th, 2025 at 9:15 p.m. On the night of Wednesday, June 4th, my husband and I sat out on our back deck for the first time this summer. We love to stargaze and use multiple different viewing apps and technology to observe our beautiful skies. We have lived in this home for 5 years and have done this every summer. However, this first gaze of the year, suddenly similar to one I had seen in August of 2024, that my husband did not see and did not believe me. A drone, quote, appeared to come from the east, but did not approach like a typical aircraft. It was very abrupt, almost like it had come from nowhere. Once spotted, we noticed it was an odd shape and had multiple lights on it, rather than the typical two you see trading flashes of red and green. Additionally, there was a flashing of translucent lights as well. The way this object moved was very strange and very spastic, at one point seeming to stroke through the atmosphere like an adolescent amphibian. That's a unique description. When this object was met with a regular commercial aircraft, it flew straight upward out of its path. Aircraft veered east before what would have been contact anyway. After cruising out of sight, two more appeared within the hour, coming from the same place and at the same pace, etc., etc. However, these two did not move as much and just kind of canoodled together. I love this woman's descriptions of things. So, they canoodled together for about an hour, looking to spin around each other, floating apart but coming back. All three craft were identical looking. A grayish-black object with multiple flashing lights, green, red, and translucent. It was a very, very bizarre night, to say the least. This next one has a video, and for you YouTube watchers, you'll be able to see the video right now as I read the description. And if you're just listening, check it out on YouTube if you want to see what I'm talking about. It comes from Jackson, Ohio, June 5th, 2025 at 6:47 p.m. Looked up and saw a red object moving across the sky and first thought it was a balloon because of the color, until it continued moving. It was early in the morning and the sky was clear when I walked outside on my way to work. I looked up and saw a bright red object moving across the sky. My first thought was balloon because of the color. You know, remember that one? It is balloon. We had good times. Because of the color and no sound. But as it continued to move and I realized it wasn't a balloon, I decided to try to get a video. But it was moving so fast that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get my phone out of my pocket and get the camera going fast enough. My excitement made me start to feel nervous because I didn't want to quit looking at it. But I had to look at my phone to get the camera opened and set it to video. As I started to film, I couldn't see it on my phone screen, so I was afraid I wasn't getting it. I tried to zoom so I could find it on my phone screen, and then I decided to zoom back out so I could get more in the picture to be able to show the size compared to something else. It was higher than a private plane would normally be, but lower than a commercial plane. I was in Jackson, Ohio, was looking southwest when I first saw it, and it moved toward the northeast. It appeared to stay at the same altitude and moved like a plane It didn't change direction, but it was quiet outside, and it made no sound that I could hear as it moved across the sky. It didn't change direction, altitude, or speed. It just moved quietly across the sky and was out of my sight in less than a minute. I don't believe it was a balloon or a plane or a helicopter, so I don't know what it was, but I would like to know. Blue Ridge, Georgia, June 8th, 2025, 11 p.m. It was a solid blue light moving to the east, faster than any known aircraft at an altitude of about 80,000 feet or more. There was no sound, no streak of light, or no sonic boom. Moving across the sky faster than any aircraft at the end of the sighting, and it faded out like it was leaving Earth. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, June 13th, 2025. Seen a light anomaly in the sky, got brighter and faded. Then two more appeared and formed a triangle, and then slowly disappeared, one by one. I started recording as they disappeared. And that's the way it usually goes. It's hard to get them on video and stuff. I speak from experience. Fulton, Mississippi, June 20th, 2025, 9:50 p.m. On the night of June 20th, 2025, while stargazing in northeast Mississippi, I saw a small, bright flash of light suddenly appear in the sky. It vanished instantly, only to reappear in a completely different area a split second later. It flashed again and then disappeared for good. The entire event lasted under 2 seconds. There was no sound, no visible trail, and the movement was not linear. It seemed to jump from one spot to another. It did not resemble a meteor, satellite, or aircraft. The sky was clear, and I was fully alert at the time. Next, we're going to go to Portsmouth, Ohio, on June 22nd, 2025, at 12:10 a.m. Noticed a weird light not usually there. I seen a light in my sky not usually there. When I looked, I seen it was reflecting off the bottom of something. Then I could see the outline of what appeared to be a UFO. It was hovering, and for a second I could see the entire shape, but within 60 seconds it disappeared upward. Canova, West Virginia, June 23rd, 2025, at 1:30 a.m. Watched craft from our back porch and yard. Over 30 blinking lights, one orange glowing light, a trapezoid formation, 3 triangles, 3 lines, 30 blinking lights total, one blinking orange. Is this a fleet of something? No sound coming from any of them. Madison, Alabama, June 24th, 2025, at 7:15 p.m. Witnessed by a pilot, aviation expert. A formation of about 8 individual blinking lights seen flying west. While looking at them, an airplane flew by at cruising altitude, giving altitude reference. The objects were many thousands of feet higher. This was seen during daylight. They were not in a line like we usually see Starlink. West Lafayette, Ohio, July 4th, 2025, 1 p.m. The sphere flew in a controlled manner over the house, east to west, over the Tuscarawas River, and over a tree line of a crop field. On the afternoon of Friday, July 4th, I observed a shiny spherical object in the sky while in West Lafayette, Ohio. The sighting occurred during broad daylight, likely sometime afternoon. I was outside with friends when I noticed the object silently moving across the sky from east to west, roughly crossing the direction of the Tuscarawas River. The object was perfectly sphere in shape and reflected sunlight in a way that made it difficult to determine its color. It did not appear to have any visible wings, rotors, or other means of propulsion. It emitted no sound, showed no lights or contrails. What stood out most was how smooth and stable its movement was. slow but steady, with slight adjustments in direction that did not match how balloons or floating objects normally behave. It passed over our position, crossed above the river, and continued toward a nearby farmer's field. I lost sight of it once it went over a tree line. I did not record it or mention it to my friends at the time, but I watched for it the entire duration of the sighting. I'm familiar with the appearance of planes, satellites, and drones. This did not resemble any of those. There was only one object, and I have no prior history of seeing anything similar in this area. The object's shape, silence, slow controlled motion, and reflectiveness all made it seem very unusual and unexplainable, based on anything I know. This one has a picture, and look on YouTube. You can see it. It's in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, July 4th, 2025 at 9:02 p.m. Sighting summary. On the night of July 4th, witnessed a strange red orb moving slowly through the sky. It wasn't fast like a firework. We were in our backyard watching fireworks from the street over when we noticed the red orb in the sky. It stood out immediately, unlike anything else in the night sky. While others were looking toward the fireworks, our attention was drawn to this slow-moving, glowing red object, silently gliding above and behind the trees. It wasn't a part of the fireworks show, and it didn't behave like a typical aircraft or drone. This next one has a picture and a video, as seen on YouTube. I can't stress that enough. It's from Knoxville, Tennessee, July 4th, 2025, 9:47 p.m. Seen this multiple times over Oak Ridge, Tennessee. First recording. Orb drastically changes directions and spins. UFO hovering over Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Abrupt moves, spins. Put a background in focus to give perspective. This next one is from Lineville, Alabama, July 4th, 2025, 11:06 p.m. Bright red-orange light that was originally stopped moved for a few seconds, and then shot up into space. Large bright red-orange light that stood out from stars to the left of my vehicle in the night sky. I got to a stop sign when it started to move toward above my vehicle. It then stopped after a short distance and started to go straight up into space, where it disappeared. This one has a video. Fairmont, West Virginia, July 5th, 2025, 9:11 p.m. About the size of a car, black disc hovering near Valley Falls, Fairmont, West Virginia. We noticed the disc just floating in the air, and it was suddenly stationary for about 10 minutes, just rotating on its side. Huntsville, Alabama, July 5th, 2025, 11:30 p.m. Practicing meditation for contact. Me and my wife both saw an orb fly over the house, slightly higher than the trees. It had an intense golden glow and pulsed a few times before vanishing. Trout Run, Pennsylvania, July 6, 2025, 5 p.m. Size of a small plane, perfect square, and looked to be all white in color, moving south to north in direction. And then we go down to Canton, Georgia, July 6, 2025, 11:20 p.m. Slow-moving reflective balloon or glider of some form at a high altitude. While in an open field with mostly clear skies, I kept seeing a flash of light. I looked up to see what I finally thought was a bird, but later recognized it to be a man-made device of some form. Appeared to be a white object with reflective elements. It appeared to be gliding north to south, high enough that I couldn't get a picture or video with my phone. It appeared to move on a straight track, not drift. Could not locate it again with binoculars. Also in Georgia, Gainesville, Georgia, July 9th, 2025. Bright orange orb, car-sized, floating silently at eye level past my third floor balcony in Gainesville, Georgia at around 1 a.m. No sound or impact. At around 1 a.m. on July 9th, 2025, I witnessed a large glowing orange orb float silently past my third floor apartment balcony in Gainesville, Georgia. I think this was in Gainesville. It appeared at eye level, moving steadily from right to left. I'm facing east, and stayed in view for about 5 seconds. The orb was round with slightly fuzzy edges, not sharply defined, and emitted a bright glow that stayed consistent with the object's movement. The glow illuminated my entire balcony as it passed, but there was no sound, no smell, no trail, and no debris left behind. There were slight flickers in the light, though I was viewing it through window blinds, which made the details a bit blurry. It didn't change direction or speed, just glided smoothly across my view. I felt a deep sense of awe, amazement, and even goosebumps. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. This one is from Huntington, Pennsylvania, Stan Gordon's neck of the woods, July 9th, 2025, 9:30 p.m. And I probably say this every time we do an Appalachian UFO Reports episode, but Pennsylvania is the most common place for a UFO to appear in Appalachia. Pretty weird, huh? I don't know why that is. There's more reports from Pennsylvania than anywhere else in the entire Appalachian Mountain region. And for those of you in the know, that goes from up around Maryland, New York area, all the way down into Georgia, Mississippi area. So it's huge. But anyway, Here's what happened in Huntington. It looked like Mars does from Earth, basically a large bright star, but seemed close and was moving fairly quickly. I stepped out for a cigarette on my back porch in downtown Huntington. My back porch faces towards the Penn Highlands Hospital, pretty much, and is on the 3rd floor. Again with the 3rd floor. I always look up at night to see what I can see. Most of the time I see nothing out of the ordinary, especially at night. This was different, and I think worth repeating. I saw a light, very much as if you were seeing Mars at night. It looked like a big bright star, but it was moving and didn't seem too far away. It was literally flying over Huntington in, I believe, what is the direction of Bellefonte, to the left of where Flagpole Hill is in Huntington. The light remained solid, no blinking. There was no noise of any aircraft or drone humming. It seemed to me to move faster than a drone. Well, as it passed over in a direct straight line, it disappeared in all of maybe 40 seconds. Too slow to be a shooting star, plus no tail. I have thought about this all day, and I cannot figure out what it was. I saw a plane way up in the sky to my front left, just before the object went out of my sight. And I believe this object was much closer than that plane. I don't want to make any major claims here, but I don't really think it was any form of human technology, though I'm no expert, so I really can't say. I wish I had taken my phone outside with me, but I was only stepping out for a few puffs of a cigarette that I left outside, so I left my phone inside, and I knew as I watched it that by the time I got my phone and my camera ready, it would be gone, so I decided to stay and watch until it passed. And that's very smart. Maybe it was clouds, but it disappeared before it reached the ridge/tree line in the sky. I stared at the sky for another 5 or 6 minutes, just hoping I'd see it or another again, but the moment seemed to be over. I feel lucky and excited to have seen it at all. This one is from Villas, North Carolina, July 10th, 2025, 11:36 p.m. It was oval with lights and moved smoothly, no sound, made 60-degree turns often. It was unknown but obviously real. I took the picture on top of Stone Mountain. Oh yeah, this one has a picture. In the Villas area at night around 11:30 p.m. This one has a picture. Latrobe, Pennsylvania, July 13th, 2025, 7:40 p.m. Taking pictures of clouds and saw it after viewing pictures. My wife was taking pictures of storm clouds, and a strange black object appeared in the picture as we looked at them later. This one also has a picture. Ellicottville, New York, July 16th, 2025 at 12:02 a.m. Multiple lights flying in different directions. Then they began to form a circle. My family and I seen multiple lights moving at different speeds in different directions. A handful began to form a circle/octagon pattern in the sky. A white light moving super fast then flew into a blue opening in the sky, and it swallowed the flying light and disappeared. They were flying above us almost 45 minutes. The circle formation is now gone, and so are the flying craft. Some were chevron shapes, and some look like typical UFO saucers. This one has a video. Clearfield, Pennsylvania, July 19th, 2025, 9:50 p.m. 4 objects, like lights in the sky. We were waiting for the fireworks to start after the parade at the Cleveland County Fair when I noticed 4 objects like lights in the sky. Another one appeared for 5 total. The first one was the largest, and the others seemed smaller. There were 4 of us, and we all saw them. At first I thought it was a balloon, till I realized there were several, and they all stayed the same distance apart. They seemed to get higher and higher in the same area and then sailed off to the right of us till they disappeared from sight. When I looked at the video I took, the largest one in the lead almost looked like metal. This one has a picture and a video. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, July 19th, 2025, 10:33 p.m. I was walking my dogs when I looked up to see it. At first I thought it was a lantern floating, but it started coming at me slowly. I observed a triangular formation of 3 orange-red lights hovering silently in the night sky over Pittsburgh. The lights were arranged symmetrically and did not blink, strobe, or change color. There was no visible structure between the lights and no audible sound, no engine, rotor, or jet noise, despite the object appearing relatively close and large. The object remained stationary for several seconds and then faded from view. It did not display typical aircraft behavior, e.g., blinking lights or movement. I captured a clear video of the object using my phone and uploaded it here. This object did not resemble any commercial aircraft, drone, or balloon that I am familiar with. The size, silence, and stability suggest something advanced or unknown. This one has a picture. Jonesboro, Tennessee, July 24th, 2025, 11:15 p.m. A bright light in the east sky moved to the southeast over my house and west. A bright light with blinking lights moved, hovered, and then flew over me. Huge, silent, gray craft, then vanished to the west. Standing in my backyard, a bright star-like light was in the east sky with a small blinking light on the north side of the light object. It moved rapidly, laterally, to the southeast and hovered, appearing to be no bigger than my thumbnail in the sky. The bright light went out and 4 blinking lights remained. Then it flew west over my house and descended at the same time to where I could see it clearly and hovered over me. I could make out its shape clearly. It made a faint, low hum, nearly silent. It had a gray foggy-like glow around the edges. All I could see was the bottom of the object. The bottom was layered gray sections like hundreds of circuit boards, and the middle of the object was a rectangle and was much larger than the sections at the sides. The sides were shaped like 2 rectangles, left and right, like a cross shape, but somewhat rounded at the top of the middle and the bottom. A half-moon, foggy gray shape came from the top left in a crescent moon shape, and one on the opposite side. Both shapes were facing inward. I never saw the top or sides of the object. The size was extremely large, covering my house and my neighbor's house and our yards. It was far above the trees in the area, but close enough for me to see the details in the shape. There was no propulsion, air/wind below it. The object hovered over me for a minute or so and then headed west. It made its ascent at the same time. It took off rapidly, disappearing into the west. This one has a video. Greenville, South Carolina, July 26, 2025. Triangular object twisting while floating and possibly pulsating. During a break in tennis play, I spotted this silver triangular object that was more like floating than moving. It seemed to twist itself around, and when it did, it became brighter, possibly because of how the sun was hitting it, or it was pulsating. There also seemed to be a small red light coming from it. I pointed it out to my friend, and we concurred that it wasn't a plane, bird, balloon, or drone. It hung around for some time until it finally went high enough that we couldn't see it anymore. I did get some video, but of course, it wasn't very good. This one is from Berwick, Pennsylvania, July 28th, 2025, 11:30 p.m. 6 orbs in geese-like formation, heading southwest at a couple hundred miles an hour, at least. Shifting aggressively, very organized. 6 orbs, geese-like formation, heading southwest very fast, definitely oval/circular shape, way faster than a drone or satellite. They were very big, not huge, but like the size of a small plane, a Cessna 152, and they were silent, gray/green/blue, and they were all like pinballing, sliding or vibrating while speeding in an arrow geese shape. Very weird. I can't find an explanation for them. Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, July 29th, 2025, 3 p.m. Sphere traveling with single aircraft. Plane flying fast with single contrail. Metallic sphere was behind the single plane at same speed, then crossed the contrail at right angle and separated from the plane in contrail. Kingston, Pennsylvania, August 2nd, 2025, 10 p.m. I was in the yard looking up at the stars thinking, man, I really wish I could see a UFO. I was looking up and locked eyes on a star that was completely still. All of a sudden it started moving slowly across the sky directly above me. After that happened 2 more times with 2 different stars. Quote, they weren't shooting and didn't start moving until I locked eyes on them. I've seen that before. This one is from Lawrenceville, Georgia, August 6, 2025. White cylinder hovering in the sky. High altitude, perfectly still until departing. I was driving to work on 316 at about 2:50 p.m. I like to keep an eye on the skies because there's a county airport on the drive and I enjoy seeing the aircraft take off and land as I drive past. I noticed a white line in the air in line with the airport and assumed it was a plane until I realized that it was too high and at the wrong angle for the approach to land and far too high to have just taken off. Additionally, it didn't seem to be getting closer or further away. It was just hanging there. No movement at all. It made no turns, rotations, or other maneuvers of any kind. I briefly lost sight of it behind a wisp of cloud before finding it again, still in exactly the same spot. A moment later, the object quickly and smoothly slid off to the right, almost instantly, accelerating. Again, no maneuvers of any kind were made. It just slid off. I lost sight of it behind a cloud and never saw it again. The object itself was long and thin, with nothing sticking out, significantly thinner than the Tic Tac craft photos. Okay, one more. Middleburg, New York, August 12th, 2025, 10:30 p.m. Green light zipping back and forth over the top of a mountain, viewable from my home, in and out of cloud cover, not a plane. Around 10:30 p.m., I stepped outside to check the cloud cover as I was planning to use an excavator at work the next day, Wednesday, and wanted to see the weather conditions. While looking at the sky, I noticed an aircraft flying overhead on a northwest to northeast path. This caught my attention because I also saw a flashing light and something unusual. I regularly see high-altitude commercial aircraft, likely over 20,000 feet, passing overhead, as I believe I'm under one of the approaches to Albany International Airport. Over the past decade, this flight path has become more common. What I saw was not the rocket launch that others reported witnessing that night. At first, I thought it was just a low-flying airplane. It had a bright green light and appeared to be making zigzag motions over the mountains opposite my home. Initially, it flew on a steady, level path, but then began moving in a distinct zigzag pattern. There was some light cloud cover. The clouds were well above the mountaintops, and the object occasionally disappeared into them. I grabbed my binoculars, which I keep on my deck for viewing wildlife. Through them, I could see what looked like a flying craft, possibly a drone, though I wasn't sure. It made no sound, and its flight path was erratic. If it was a drone, it had the longest continuous flight path I've ever seen for one. Certainly not a typical consumer DJI type model. It traveled in a single direction for what I estimate to be more than 10 miles, far longer than a standard hobby drone's range. The green light pulsed rather than flashed, and I saw no other colors. And there you go. Appalachian UFO reports. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. It was fun. I like the UFO reports. If you like the UFO reports and you got one to send in, send an email to indarkplacespod@hotmail.com. We'll see you right here next week, hopefully. God bless.